Michigan has been the heart of the American auto industry for over a century, churning out everything from Model Ts to muscle cars. But now, the birthplace of the assembly line is shifting gears. As the world moves towards electric vehicles, Michigan's legacy is evolving from exhaust pipes to charging ports. With EVs taking over the roads, demand for charging infrastructure is surging, and Michigan is right in the thick of it. Federal dollars are flowing in to supercharge this transition, fueling projects from urban hubs to rural stretches of highway. But Michigan isn't stopping at standard chargers. It's pioneering cutting-edge tech, like wireless charging roads that power EVs as they drive. This is more than just keeping up. Michigan is leading the way as America redefines what it means to drive. Michigan is making a hard push to stay at the forefront of the EV revolution, and it's getting some serious help from Uncle Sam. Thanks to a fresh $26.2 million grant, Detroit and Ann Arbor are set to see a wave of new stations as part of a broader $521 million national push to make EV infrastructure as accessible as gas stations. But this isn't just about sprinkling a few chargers here and there. Michigan has a bold target: 100,000 public chargers by 2030. And with President Biden's $7.5 billion EV infrastructure fund backing projects across the country, it's clear the goal isn't just for folks in Silicon Valley to tool around in their Teslas. This is about ensuring that drivers from the heart of Detroit to the outskirts of the UP can actually find a charge without performing a nationwide scavenger hunt. With federal and state dollars fueling this build-out, Michigan's charging network is expanding across urban centers and winding its way into rural areas, connecting towns that once saw more tractors than Teslas. For Michigan, this isn't just an infrastructure upgrade. It's a chance to double down on its role in shaping America's roads, whether those roads lead to factories or fresh new EV charging stations. Let's talk about the EV gap between urban and rural Michigan. A chasm so wide that if you squint hard enough, you'd think it was a new Great Lake. Right now, MDOT's aiming to build an EV network that actually connects the whole state, from bumper-to-bumper traffic of Detroit to the single blinking stoplight of Gladwin County. Their target? Highways like I-75, I-94, and I-96, the lifelines of Michigan's travel. These are the roads where, if MDOT's dreams come true, EV drivers won't need a miracle to find a charge station. And that's sorely needed, because as it stands, rural areas are a bit of a no man's land for EVs. Some counties have one public charging station. That's right, one. St. Joseph, Alpena, Montcalm, and a few others barely scrape by with 2 or 3. If you're in those parts, driving in an EV is practically a sport. Can you make it to the next charger without sputtering out? MDOT's vision is to close the gap, making charging accessible across the state. Because guess what? If Michigan really wants to see the EVs replace the gas-guzzling trucks and sedans of yesterday, then the charging infrastructure can't just cater to metro areas. The state has to bring this tech to everyone, not just those who live within a short drive of a Whole Foods. In the end, if they pull this off, they'll turn Michigan into the kind of EV utopia where all Michiganders from downtown Detroiters to Upper Peninsula locals can hit the road without packing an extra long extension cord. Detroit is about to pull a serious flex on the EV world with its new wireless charging pilot. That's right. MDOT and the Office of Future Mobility are rolling out an inductive charging roadway. This isn't your regular plug in and wait for an hour deal. We're talking about a road that charges your EV while you're actually driving on it. Imagine never having to stop to charge again. It's like those fancy conveyor belts at the airport, except it's for your car and it won't lose your luggage. This 1-mile stretch of electrified roadway is the first of its kind in the entire country. And it's all happening right here in Michigan. The goal? To zap range anxiety straight out of existence. Forget the fear of running out of juice in the middle of nowhere. Now you can cruise along, battery charging as you go, like some futuristic sci-fi setup. And for all the folks wringing their hands over peak grid demands, it's a smart move too. Charging spread out over the drive reduces the rush on the power grid, keeping things steady without frying every toaster in a 5-mile radius. What's clear is that Michigan isn't just along for the EV ride. We're driving innovation from the front seat. Between the wireless charging pilot and our ambitious infrastructure plans, Michigan's showing the rest of the country what a 21st century road can look like. So next time someone says EVs are just a fad, remind them that in Michigan, we're already rolling out roads that charge our cars for us. Let's talk about jobs. Because the transition to EVs isn't just creating sleek new cars, it's powering a high-tech job market right here in the heart of car country. Michigan's goal to blanket the state in charging stations means there's a whole lot of work that needs to be done. From high-tech manufacturing gigs producing EV parts, to construction roles putting up charging stations on every major route. This is a jobs boom like Michigan hasn't seen in a very long time. And it's not just Michigan workers who benefit. Local businesses along these new EV corridors are going to get a slice of the pie too. Take Rivian, for example. This company isn't just building chargers. They're setting up stations designed to attract travelers into nearby businesses, whether it's a coffee shop, a roadside diner, or even that mom and pop store you pass on I-96. The EV shift is about more than just electric cars. It's about revving up local economies, too. What we're seeing in this transformation, with Michigan not only keeping its title as the auto capital, but also evolving into a hub for green tech and infrastructure. As more stations go up and more jobs open up, the EV industry is charging Michigan's economy. When it comes to the environment, Michigan's EV push is a double-edged sword. On one side, the shift to electric vehicles offers a significant boost for a state already grappling with climate threats, especially around the Great Lakes. Cleaner air, fewer emissions, and a reduced dependency on oil sound like a win all around. For Michigan, the EV transition could mean a future with fewer oil spills, a tangible reduction in greenhouse gases, and better long-term health for the state's unique natural resources. But there's a trade-off. EV batteries don't just magically appear. They're built with critical minerals like lithium, nickel, and cobalt. And guess where some of those precious metals are? Right here in Michigan's Upper Peninsula. So while we're working to protect the environment, we're also considering a new wave of mining exploration. Mining may mean economic growth and job opportunities, but it brings along serious environmental baggage, potential ecosystem disruption, water pollution, and long-lasting impacts on Michigan's natural landscapes. It's a balancing act. The EV movement is a leap forward in climate action, especially for a state like Michigan, with its unique position as steward of some of the world's largest freshwater resources. But even in the process, there's always a catch. Michigan's EV dream needs to be careful, responsibly planning to ensure that the environmental gains aren't overshadowed by the costs of resource extraction. So, how do we ensure we're not saving one part of the environment while sacrificing another? Instead of digging up fresh resources, Michigan could invest in advanced battery recycling programs. Companies like Redwood Materials and Li-Cycle are already making strides in extracting usable minerals from old batteries. If Michigan invests in these types of initiatives, it could reduce demand for new mining, turning today's used batteries into tomorrow's raw materials. By keeping these valuable minerals in circulation, we minimize the need for new extraction and ease the strain on the Upper Peninsula's ecosystem. As EV technology matures, so does the science behind batteries. Alternatives like solid-state batteries, which promote longer lifespans and reduce dependency on scarce minerals, are on the horizon. Other innovations include sodium-ion and aluminum-air batteries, which rely on more abundant materials. Encouraging Michigan's automotive and tech sectors to invest in research and development for these alternative batteries could help shift away from dependency on lithium and cobalt, protecting our local environments. If mining is inevitable, it should be done with the highest environmental standards. Michigan could adapt stringent state-specific regulations that require mining companies to invest in sustainable practices, including advanced water treatment facilities, restoration of mined areas, and detailed plans for reducing ecosystem disruption. Working with environmental scientists and indigenous groups who hold traditional knowledge of the land could help ensure that the mining projects respect Michigan's unique ecosystems and minimize any damage. We should also prioritize expanding our renewable energy infrastructure, such as wind and solar, to reduce emissions across the board. By shifting to renewables in parallel with EV adoption, the state could achieve a net positive effect on its carbon footprint, helping to counterbalance any environmental costs associated with battery mineral extraction. EVs aren't the only way to cut emissions. Investing in robust electric-powered public transit systems can reduce the overall number of vehicles on the road, meaning fewer batteries and less resource demand. If Michigan's major cities, along with its rural areas, offered effective public transit options, we'd see fewer cars and lower overall mineral demand. A win for Michigan's economy, climate, and ecosystems alike. Michigan has a unique opportunity to show the world what a thoughtful, balanced EV transition can look like. By exploring recycling options, researching alternative batteries, adopting strong environmental regulations, expanding renewable energy, and investing in public transit, Michigan can pave the way for a greener future that protects the economy, climate, and precious natural resources. The EV transition can be a net positive for Michigan, but only if we approach it with our eyes open and priorities clear. Now, let's talk about one of the biggest ironies in this grand EV adventure: charger reliability. You'd think that with all the hype, every EV charging station would be a pristine, perfectly functioning oasis for every electric vehicle. Nope, not at all. As it stands, only 81% of chargers are actually reliable. You heard that right. 19% of the time, the chargers fail, meaning nearly 1 in 5 won't work when you roll up, battery flashing red, and dreams of eco-friendly road trips flashing before your eyes. And just as EV adoption is outpacing infrastructure, this reliability gap couldn't come at a worse time. Michigan drivers are stepping up to go electric, but Apache charger network leaves them stranded and frustrated, not to mention questioning if they should have just stuck with gas. Enter MDOT and Rivian, the dynamic duo committed to flipping the switch on this reliability issue. With Rivian's dedication to building a network that prioritizes high-quality service and MDOT's efforts to connect every inch of Michigan, rural highways, and urban hubs alike, they're tackling these reliability woes head-on. Because let's be honest, if we're going to make EVs a staple on Michigan roads, we need chargers that work every time. No more playing EV roulette at the station. So, how exactly are MDOT and Rivian planning to turn things around and create a network that doesn't leave drivers guessing? First off, MDOT is doubling down on strategic placement, aiming to build out a comprehensive grid across Michigan's key highways. They're working to ensure that there's a charging station every 50 miles, which means drivers won't be left praying their battery can make it to the next town. Rivian, on the other hand, isn't just slapping chargers in random spots and hoping for the best. They're building with purpose, designing stations that fit right into Michigan's high-traffic travel corridors and nearby local businesses, providing spots that are reliable, accessible, and even enjoyable to use. These aren't your typical rest stops. They're community-focused charging hubs that pull travelers into nearby restaurants, coffee shops, and stores, turning what used to be time lost waiting for a charge into an opportunity to explore Michigan's local gems, bringing business to towns and small businesses across the state. And both MDOT and Rivian are working with local communities and utility providers to ensure the stations stay up and running. This means regular maintenance and smart tech that actually keeps the chargers operational, so when drivers plug in, they get the charge they need without surprise errors or delays. In other words, Michigan is setting up a charging network that it's actually built to last and built for us. A network we can count on that makes EV adoption realistic. Now, we can't ignore the looming uncertainties. With Trump's return, there's no shortage of speculation about what federal EV policies will look like. The man's on record calling EVs a transition to hell, so the concern is real. What happens if federal support dries up? Will tax credits for EVs vanish? Will the funds for building out charging infrastructure go up in smoke? It's a possibility, considering his previous term's track record on anything with a green label. But here's where Michigan shows some grit. While the federal scene might shift, the state's not planning to pump the brakes on EV progress. Michigan leaders have made it clear they're committed to the EV transition. Federal roadblocks are not. State-level incentives, local investments, and partnerships with local industry players aren't going anywhere. And projects like the inductive charging road in Detroit are proof that Michigan's not waiting on Washington to make progress. So even if federal winds blow against the EV tide, Michigan has its course set. This isn't just about cleaner cars. It's about securing the state's economic future, staying competitive on the national and international stage, and protecting our natural resources. Michigan is holding steady, with or without a friendly face in the White House, determined to keep the EV momentum rolling for the sake of jobs, innovation, and the environment. So, there you have it. Michigan is charging full speed ahead into the future, blending legacy and innovation like nowhere else. We're talking millions in federal funding and creating charging stations dotting highways from Detroit to the most rural counties, and even roads that charge cars as they cruise. Sure, some folks still pine for the days of gas-chugging engines, belching exhaust, clinging to a world where green was just a crayon color. But in Michigan, we're redefining the Motor City for the 21st century, thanks to real progress in tech and infrastructure. While some politicians are busy trying to make fossil fuels great again and dismiss EVs as a transition to hell, Michigan's busy making history. We're proving that a green future isn't some eco-fantasy. It's the backbone of a strong economy, more local jobs, and clean air and water for our Great Lakes. We're not joining the EV revolution. We're shaping it. Because the truth is, we don't have time to wait around for leaders with their heads stuck in a tailpipe. Michigan's on a mission, paving a path for a cleaner, more connected, and economically resilient future. So to those clinging to yesterday's gas-guzzling dream, feel free to join us. Or you can keep pumping dollars into a dwindling oil fantasy while the rest of us drive toward a future worth fighting for. Let me know what you think in the comments. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for joining me here at the Bull Moose Network. Eyes open, voices loud.